A grand jury is still underway, reviewing all of the evidence being presented to them as it pertains to the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I'm going to give you all the updates right here on Los Angeles Magazine, everything I've learned, which is a lot. And look, my eyes are very open right now, and I really and truly believe that we are getting one step closer to bringing this poor girl to justice, because Celeste Rivas Hernandez, she deserves justice. And as far as I can see, and based on other expert opinions, the LAPD has not been this tight-lipped about a case in a very long time. This is truly diabolical to me. And today, I was fortunate enough to have a conversation on a Los Angeles Magazine podcast with veteran criminal defense attorney Mark Garagos. He's also the co-host of TMZ's Two Angry Men. He is in and out of the LA County Courthouse all the time. He knows things. So I'm going to pull up, first of all, a story that I wrote on lamag.com right after I got off the stream with Mark, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of great information. And, something that he mentioned to me is that, there are now reports of who is going in and out of that grand jury room. And that's kind of weird, because a grand jury, as many of you know, is supposed to be secret. In New York, it's very secret. We have no idea what's happening, where it's happening at the courthouse. There are back doors, witnesses can come through, etc. I've never been to the LA County Courthouse. I'm on the East Coast. I've never gone there for any trials, but Garagos tells me everyone knows it's on the 13th floor. There's no secret entrance for anybody. They just all kind of walk in the same way. So there have been reports and leaks that David's tour manager, and I guess he's the GM of Interscope, his name is Robert Morgenroth. He just recently testified and was seen out in the hallway kind of telling his lawyer that the judge really seemed to get on him about not calling anybody about what he knew about Celeste. And it's unclear if he knew about her age and if David was hanging out with her, or if he knew something nefarious happened. That's very unclear. But that information was leaked by TMZ, by the Daily Mail. And yeah, that really shouldn't happen when it comes to a grand jury. We shouldn't really know who's coming and going. But on the other hand, you have the Diddy grand jury that convened. And I said this on the stream. I remember specifically when a man named Courtney Burgess testified in front of the grand jury. This is the guy that said he was friends with Kim Porter and kind of pushed out the memoir. That very same night, he was going on Ashley Banfield on News Nation, and he was talking about it. So, if you're a witness, you don't necessarily have to remain silent or anything like that. You can talk if you want to. But I think that it seems like, in my opinion, and I think Mark feels the same way as well, just based on our conversation, that the DA's office and the LAPD are really trying to almost scare these witnesses into zipping their lips, because they don't want anything getting out as it pertains to Celeste. Because the public, we really do have a significant interest in this case. We really want to see justice for Celeste. So let me pull up this article right here. Okay. So Mark says that the probe into Celeste has entered a, quote, unusually, oh my gosh, I can never talk, secretive phase. And this is interesting to me, and look, he also says that investigators appear to be keeping the case close to the vest as a grand jury questions figures tied to David, even surmising that they may already have his iCloud data. That was huge for me. I'll get into that. But the biggest thing here, and I don't want to get this wrong, Garagos says you don't normally see the Emmy's office trying to be transparent and then law enforcement pushing back, because look, that's what happened. LAPD filed a motion basically saying that the Emmy's office cannot release any death records as it pertains to Celeste. So the public, we're not supposed to know anything until the LAPD is ready. And I've said this for a while. They know if she had any drugs in her system. I am certain the tox report is back. I am certain they have different tissue samples that they've tested. They know stuff. They just didn't want it getting out to the public. So let's see. So Mark had said, and I don't want to mess this up. Okay, here it is. Garagos noted that California typically relies on public preliminary hearings, not grand juries, to move felony cases forward. Okay, so with that in mind, if there was a case where they wanted to charge someone with a felony, Garagos is saying, well, normally that would be a public preliminary hearing. You'd see something in a docket that was publicly available. He goes on to say, or I'm saying as the author here, the secretly surrounding this one suggests that detectives and prosecutors are trying to keep investigative information from leaking to the public who is heavily invested in this case. Quote, the cynic in me says, the reason they're using the grand jury is to figure out what's happening without public scrutiny and to identify who, if anyone, is criminally liable. They want this close to the vest. And then I said, Los Angeles previously reported that an investigative grand jury was convened, not a regular grand jury, which means they're unable to recommend indictments or charges. But Garagos isn't so sure the type of grand jury matters anymore. So let's just unpack that. He believes that this grand jury is simply to figure out what happened without public scrutiny. They are actually investigating this case inside of a courtroom because they believe that is the only way to keep things quiet. And, that's interesting. And as Garagos notes, that's extremely, extremely unusual. He also goes on to say, unlike New York or federal courts, Los Angeles grand jury secrecy is imperfect. You can't parade witnesses in and out of that hallway and expect people not to notice, which is kind of what I said before. Anyone following this case can see who's going into the grand jury room. So the other thing I thought that was super interesting is he believes that investigators have already pieced together a significant digital evidence trail. And so he said, it would not surprise me if they already have all of David's devices recreated through his providers. So if David went to, or if David, used AT&T, the LAPD can go to AT&T, they can show them a subpoena and say, we need XYZ because of this investigation. And yeah, AT&T, they've got to give it to them. So that was super interesting. And also I asked him on this stream, and by the way, you guys should go and listen to it if you haven't already. It's in our it's on this channel, Los Angeles Magazine. It is the most recent live stream that we did. But he also answered my question because I was like, well, so if a grand jury convened in mid-November, you're telling me week to week or even day to day, they can subpoena people based on evidence. So they don't have to wait until everything is complete here. All the evidence has been shown to the grand jury. They could say at the end of yesterday, okay, based on XYZ, we need to get a subpoena for David's iCloud data from AT&T. That's crazy. I did not realize that. So that's good. To me, that's really good. I had questioned if, possibly Celeste's family was there testifying. He said, maybe if they're trying to figure out a timeline based on when they last saw her, when they last spoke to her, things like that. So I found that to be really, really interesting as well. So he also said he knows of a few other names that have testified. I just know Robert Morgan Roth. I keep saying that weird. And also, I'm pretty sure Steve Fisher testified, the private investigator, because of what he posted on Twitter. He had posted something on Twitter, basically indicating that he felt like the DA's office was really trying to keep him quiet about this case, and that's why they called him to testify. But that's not really fair to him, because he literally is working this case. He's hired by someone involved, the homeowner. So Steve felt like, and he says this on his X, which is SF Investigates, if you guys don't follow him, he said he felt like he was subpoenaed there, so they would sort of tell him that he had to remain silent, even though Garagos also confirmed that, again, witnesses don't have to remain silent. So we'll see. I do feel, again, I know I've said this, but I do feel like we are headed in the right direction here, because this is finally on the radar of the DA's office. Oh my gosh, it's been a week. Okay, this is our one day this week without going to court for Mangione. So I was trying to get back into this case. I was trying to sort of dissect what I knew, what was actually new, and I think I have a better handle on things now, and I think I understand why they are going this route, the LAPD. I understand it. They don't want to mess up this very important investigation. They want to catch Celeste's killer. It is just going slower than I think many of us would like. So anyway, thank you all for listening, and for caring, and for just being so invested in getting justice for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I'm Lauren Conlin from Los Angeles Magazine. Tune in tomorrow. We will have more information on Luigi Mangione.